Bob Fryer here in the AAPEX studio. I want to thank our sponsors, Repairify, and Great Water 360 Auto Care. Right now we are joined by Carlos Thimann. He is with Strategy and Carlos, good to have you here. I know you presented like an hour presentation on electric vehicles, so unfortunately, we're going to ask you to do that entire hour presentation again right now.
I certainly can. Yeah.
No, what we need is kind of a Reader's Digest version here.
Yeah.
Give me just the core update on electric vehicles.
For sure, Bob. So what we do, this is actually the third year that we've done this presentation.
Okay.
So it's a joint EV forecast as well as an outlook of what's going to happen in the US light vehicle aftermarket. Okay. So there's a lot of influence by the news on electric vehicles, as you probably very well know. Mm-hmm. And the way that we forecast is we have a lot of inputs and we build a bottoms-up model just to make sure that we're hitting on the key drivers for electric vehicle growth. Okay. One of them is the total cost of ownership parity between an electric vehicle and an ICE vehicle.
Is there a big parity?
Well, we're expecting them to reach parity in about 2026, 2027 timeframe. Meaning at that point, you and I will go to a dealership and say, it costs me the same to buy an electric vehicle versus an ICE vehicle. Okay. This is net of credits and incentives, right? We don't take that into the equation, right? Okay. So, but that's one, right? Consumer behavior is another one, right? There's a lot of anxiety about range. There's a lot of anxiety about many things with electric vehicles. It's a new technology still for most consumers. Charging infrastructure is a big one. It's creating a lot of that range anxiety, right? Because they don't see it on the roads. Okay. And the ones that they do see, a good amount of them are damaged, right? So this is a combination of all those things, including, model availability of electric vehicles. So we build that from the bottoms up.
Is there an environmental impact that also factors into people's thinking or no?
In some sense it does, but I think it's in a good way.
Not, okay,
yeah,
that's what I meant.
Yeah, in a good way. I think a lot of consumers feel like they're making well by the environment by buying on an electric vehicle. There are arguments on both sides, obviously, on that one.
Right.
But we do see that new vehicle sales of electric vehicles are going to grow. They were about 9% of total sales this year. They're going to grow to about 15% by 2025, sorry, and then 35% by 2030. Okay. So it's going to significant growth. And that's kind of our base case model. There are other things. So that's only new vehicle sales. How does that translate into the car park, which is what matters to a lot of the folks here on the aftermarket side, is the reality less than 1% of the vehicles on the road today are electric. Okay. That's going to grow to about 10% by 2030. So
that's significant.
That's significant, yeah. But at that point, a lot of the shop owners and other suppliers are going to start making decisions about how to invest to make sure that they're ready for this transition that will eventually happen, right?
Okay, and obviously the people here, they're going to be obviously trained in keeping those new electric vehicles on the road.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what's happening today. A lot of the electric vehicles on the road are still under warranty for the most part today.
Oh, all right.
So you see the traffic through maybe the dealerships, and there is sort of a predisposition or a belief that you can only service these vehicles today on dealerships. Eventually, the independent shop of the future is going to have to make some investments on people, on infrastructure, on tools and technology, just to make sure that they can convince you and I, the consumer, that I can take my electric vehicle to your shop.
Prepare today for tomorrow.
Exactly,
right.
yeah.
All
now,
right. Go ahead.
Sorry. So we take all that input and then we forecast aftermarket growth. So right now, we're about $418 billion U.S. light vehicle aftermarket. That's going to grow pretty steadily at about a 1.5% CAGR through 2045. It's probably going to cross the $500 billion mark in 2030, and is forecasted to be at $575 billion by 2045. But who knows? Beyond 2030 is kind of a black box.
I got
still.
you. Yeah. Well, Carlos, thank you for giving us the Reader's Digest version.
Absolutely.
Much appreciated.
Thanks, Bob.
All right.
Thank you so much.
And of course, we want to thank our sponsors, Repairify and Great Water 360 Auto Care. You can check them out all this week at Joe's Garage on the first floor. I'm Bob Fryer here in the AAPEX studio.